Hi there. This video will explain how multi-stakeholder dialogue can contribute to an enabling environment for CSOs to work and thrive in. The concept of multi-stakeholder dialogue is very broad, so the task team tries to make this more tangible by focusing on 4 key elements, which we refer to as stepping stones. In this video, we'll zoom in on these stepping stones individually, starting with institutionalized multi-stakeholder dialogue. For CSO engagement in multi-stakeholder dialogue to be meaningful, more is needed than holding ad hoc and issue-based consultations. It is key to have institutionalized dialogues which are systematic. This means they take place regularly and are communicated in advance so that stakeholders can anticipate them, prepare, and organize themselves. This way, multi-stakeholder dialogue becomes part of the overall development architecture. Wherever feasible, dialogue should build on existing multi-stakeholder fora. By building on existing dialogue processes, stakeholders avoid duplication of efforts as relevant actors have already been identified, relationships have been established, and agreements about the scope, timing, and frequency of the discussions are already in place. Effective dialogue also requires reporting mechanisms. Whenever CSOs, donors, or partner governments have received input from their partners to inform certain decisions, policies, or programs, feedback should be provided on if and how this input was taken up. Through multi-stakeholder dialogue, CSOs are able to share their insights and experiences from the field and bring to the table the voices of the most marginalized people that are often excluded from development discussions. But to do so, dialogue needs to be accessible. This is the second stepping stone. For accessible dialogue, it is important that relevant information is provided in a timely manner and in accessible language. The host should ensure that all stakeholders are able to access information with minimal costs and bureaucratic procedures. For CSOs to have real access to the table, it is important that they can make interventions. This requires political commitment from governments to create space for non-state development actors to make interventions, including at international and intergovernmental fora. One way to provide access to these international fora is to include CSOs in multi-stakeholder delegations. Inclusive multi-stakeholder dialogue forms the third stepping stone. This means that a wide range of different development actors, like national and local governments, parliaments, the private sector, and traditionally marginalized groups. For CSOs, it's important that there's also broad participation beyond the bigger players, for example by including local CSOs from outside the capital and grassroots organizations. For multi-stakeholder dialogue to be successful, all stakeholders need to be able to contribute to the discussion equally. This brings us to the fourth stepping stone, which is resources or training opportunities for dialogue. Resources and trainings may be needed to build the capacity of various stakeholders, so that everyone is given what they need for meaningful multi-stakeholder dialogue. Examples of trainings can include communication skills, leadership skills, conflict resolution, and negotiation. When all these conditions are in place, CSOs can actively participate in multi-stakeholder dialogue fora at national, regional, or even global levels. Now that you know exactly what is needed for meaningful multi-stakeholder dialogue, who will you be striking up a conversation with?